Okay, this is a nitrous kit that I bought from Justin, and I got the NOS up and I have it facing this way just because changing the tips would be easier. And I put a plug in right here that I happen to have laying around. That's the gas side, but I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to be setting this up as a dry nitrous system. So I'm going to put another gasket on here and put this on, bolt it down, and then all I'll be left is running everything else, the plumbing and the wiring. Alright, that raised the throttle body up about 9/16 of an inch, so now I'm going to see if the hood closes real easy. So the hood's too short, it's pushing it up right there. So I think my hood scoop's going to have to come off, which means no driving in the rain. That's unfortunate. Well, it might still work because where it's hitting is right there where that strip's at. I could shift it over an inch, but it wouldn't be centered on the hood, but it would cover it, but it'll be right on top of this, and I'm not sure I like that. And I'm thinking, well, I need to cover it, otherwise I won't be able to drive it and leave it anywhere just in case it rains. Oh, it does look a lot cooler like that. I kind of like the look, and that's actually a cold air intake like that. But I don't know. I wouldn't be able to drive it to work. Not that I need to do that, but if it rained, I'd have to have a plan in place to get it covered whenever I go out. So if I move it back 4 inches, it'll probably bolt down, but it doesn't fit like that. I'd have to cut it and stuff, and so I'm thinking probably time to get a new hood. Okay, so I took the gas solenoid off since I'm not going to need that, and so I clipped the 2 wires that went to it with enough room to splice it back in. So all I got is these 2 wires to power with the relay, and I just bolted it to the carburetor bolt. Can't see it because it's behind this wire, but that's how it's mounted. And all I really got left to do is wiring and the bottle. I went to Menards and got these nuts and this tool right here. When you pop that in the hole you drill, and you screw that in, and it's like a rivet, and it squinches it on the metal. And lucky for me, the hole I had already drilled was the exact size I needed, so I hammered that in a little bit, and now I'm just gonna pull it up like a rivet, and that's how I'm gonna mount these. I got the gas all hooked up, the lines all hooked up, and I got it bolted down. And when I crack this open, you can hear it leaking by. So I think the solenoid might be bad. I had it hooked up backwards. I had that on the in and out. Now when I pressurize it, it holds. So evidently that's important. I thought I got it right the first time, but evidently not. So this is what I got to put on. And I already got a switch to power it with, arm it. So I'm gonna have an arming switch, but I'm not gonna have a button like a lot of other people have. That's the solenoid that I'm using. And I got it from Winner's Circle here in town. And 1 wire goes to the solenoid, 1 wire goes to a 12-volt source, and 1 wire goes to the ECU. And I still gotta figure out which pins that I gotta connect it to on the ECU. There's 2 wires that I have to connect it to the ECU. One is the switch, the arm switch, and the other one goes to the solenoid. So that'll be something I have to study in the next few days and figure out before I get back to this. Okay, so after some studying of the paperwork and the computer help on the program there. It has a help button. Anyway, B10, it's the black and gray wire, and it's the NOS, what I'm going to use for an output wire for the NOS, and it's going to go to this black and yellow wire that is on this harness for the solenoid. The blue one here is going to go to the solenoid. The orange one is going to go to a battery. And that's pretty much it for the wiring. Then I go to my pin map here and inputs. A12 is the white and blue wire. Hold on. Okay, A12 is the white and blue wire. That's this one, white and blue. And you can't read that, but it says the NOS enable switch on my tag here. So white and blue is going to go to my NOS enable switch. And on the computer, I got that at A12, which is the white and blue, NOS enable. I got that drug down from the unassigned inputs down to there. So that's correct. Then on one of the settings, the N2O input number 1, right there, and it goes to A3. And that is not a physical wire, really. You're not wiring that. But when your rev limiter hits, it shuts off the nitrous and launch retard. And so that's the rev limiter and the I believe that's the trans brake with the launch retard. So here's the outputs. And I have that B10. And it's going to do the stage 1 out on my pin connector. That's the black and gray wire here, and it's going to go to this black and yellow wire for the output. So this gray wire will trigger the solenoid. This wire is the white and blue, and I'm going to have to bring that into the car and hook it up to an enable toggle switch to enable the nitrous system. And I'm using the progressive system, so that means that I don't have to push a button. That means I don't have to have an arm, or I don't have to have the button on the steering wheel. I just have to switch the enable button, and that'll tell this wire will tell the ECU that I want the nitrous to work, and then based on the settings inside the ECU, this one will trigger the solenoid. So it's really just 2 wires there, one to arm it and one to actually engage it, and then the rest of these wires, this orange wire and blue wire, are for running the solenoid. So it seems like I'm probably making it harder than what it is. It's kind of simple, I guess, because then all you have to do is, after you wire those wires up, is come in here and make sure you got these settings right. And I still got to go over all these settings, but this input 1 that I was just talking about, I have that as will disable. So it'll disable the nitrous when I press the trans brake or I hit the limiter. So then I got all these other settings just kind of generically put in. I'm going to be doing the dry progressive, and it's activated. I got it activated here, and then dry progressive, and then these were just generic numbers that I got from watching videos for the milliseconds and stuff. I'm going to let the tuner do all that. And TPS trigger 90%. RPMs 3,500 minimum, maximum 6,000. So it'll disable the nitrous 500 RPMs before it hits the limiter. And then you got your staging duration and other things I don't really understand, that I can't really help anybody with. So, but that's how I'm gonna wire this up before I take it to the tuner. So since this blue and white wire and this black and gray wire need to go into the car, and this purple and green wire I decided I didn't need after I ran it, I'm gonna pull that back through to run these wires into the inside of the car. These two wires got to go in there, so I'll just use that instead of getting my fish tape out and remove this wire while I'm at it. This black and gray wire here that is supposed to go to the black and yellow wire, I'm thinking I can just eliminate that, because this wire should be long enough to get to the pin, and I'll just find this on the plug and unplug it, and then plug this black one in, and then I don't have to worry about the splice. Okay, so I just gently pulled on that, and there they are. It came through there pretty easy. So now this one will go to the switch, and that one will go to this one of these plugs right here. I got to figure that out. So this is B, this is A, and 10 is a red and white wire here, so that's obvious that it's B anyways, because it's B10. So that black and gray wire right there, that number on the side there is 8, and I probably can't show you, but that's 8, so you count 2 wires over, 9, 10. That's black and gray, so that's got to be it. So I'm gonna push on, probably, I think it's this one you push on, and then you pull the wire out, put the wire you want in, and then push the other side, because that's just like a lock. So it shoves one way and opens them up, and then it shoves the other way and locks them back down. So I'm gonna carefully do that so I can get them all. Don't want to move the wires, so otherwise they might not lock in right. Alright, that was quick and easy. So it snapped in there. The other one's just dangling. So I have to make that in my notes that that wire isn't useful anymore, but I'm not going to cut it, because that would be silly to cut it just because I think I won't need it. I might need it later. So this is the arm switch wire, the blue and white one, and it needs to be another foot or so longer because I need to get to this switch panel, and I'm going to use one of those switches as an arm switch. Alright, I got it all wired in, and that switch right there is the arm switch, and that's the arming switch for the trans brake, and that's the arming switch for the line lock. And all that's left for the nitrous is hooking up this ground here, but I want to hook this up, and I might wind up grounding them both in the same place. So I don't know where I'm going to do that, but I was thinking about bolting this like that or something, so that this right here can go out this vent hole right here in the hood. Like that. When I close the hood, there'll be plenty of room for it, and then that tube would just elbow out through that hole right there. But I'm not sure. Got to think about it. Anyway, what this consists of is this T right here, and when this line, the line that comes from the bottle here, is going to connect there, and then this T right here goes to this solenoid, and and they sent this, so it's not very long, maybe a foot long, to get it exiting the vehicle. So I got to be strategic where I mount that solenoid. I suppose I could mount it to this bolt right here and then run the line up out that corner and then just cut away at the hood so that it clears. I don't know. Alright, so that's what I decided on. And I'll run the wires back over here and through the firewall. And then it comes out right there. I'll have to trim that down. Almost done. Alright, I believe I have it wired up, and hopefully I have it wired up correctly. Gotta figure out how to test it, but I know I can test the purge, so here we go. Yep, that works. I figured out a little test. This, I turn it on, let it load up. But see right there where it says stall? That'll turn green when I start it. I'm gonna connect to my USB, and it should be connected now. So when I flip the switch, this light right here should turn green. And it turns green. So that means I've wired up at least the enable switch right. And it's off. So, I mean, it should work. Alright, I went for a ride and I'm happy to say it worked. The nitrous did work. I went ahead and put all the settings kind of low so I wouldn't mess anything up, just to see if it would come in. I went down to like 40% on the duty cycle or whatever so that it wouldn't come in all the way. And here's what we got. So this is this top line here is the throttle position. I rolled into first gear, so that's not from a stop. And then I punched it, and that yellow line there is the nitrous coming on, and then it drops off, and then it comes on again, and then it drops off, and then it comes on again. Now that space right there, I have it set for a second delay, so I either hit the rev limiter or I came out of it. I probably hit the rev limiter because it's all the way up there at the top on first gear, and then I shifted early in second gear, I think. But it did, well, let's see. Well, I shifted it 6,000 RPMs, but it already had came out of it because I have it set to come out at 6,000 RPMs. And then that's third gear, and that got up to, let's see if I can do this by looking through my phone. That got up to 5,600 RPMs, so I was going quite fast. So the nitrous is working. I'm gonna deactivate it, or I'll just disable it with the switch anyway, turn off the bottle and wait for tuning day. I'm excited. Probably can't tell, but I'm excited. Okay, here's another graph that's on the drag racing graphs, and that purple line is the air fuel ratio. Okay, so it got down to, looks like 9, and it got up to about 12, and then here near the end it got up to like 14. So I mean, it was kind of all over the place, but it wasn't out of line, so I didn't make any major mistakes on this run. But I'm smart enough to know that I don't know enough to set this up. So this is where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to let the tuner do it, like I said. So I'm going to end this video right here. That pretty much sums up all the whole nitrous install. Hope it was helpful for somebody, and see you on the next one. I'll probably be doing the bump steer install next. I'm not sure.